Each morning, real RSI setups are broken down with entry strategies and the technical reasoning behind every trade. This is RSI Trade of the Day with Verified Investing.
Welcome to the RSI Trade of the Day. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. I've got an exciting show. There are some high flyers that I'm going to get into that have given signals of reversal on the RSI. It's super exciting. This could mark the top for some of these high flying stocks, and I will get into those. Kind of like SNDK, right? So SanDisk put in a topping tail. It actually put in two topping tails. And yesterday, going over the show live, I said, all right, this would be a great entry for a swing trade. And it dropped 5, 6, 7% as the market opened and just continued to fall. And so that's one of the signals that I'm noticing, in addition to over an extended RSI. So you guys don't want to miss the end of this show. But first off, let's go ahead and go into the trade of the day from yesterday. That was HIMS. The RSI indicated that the price action of HIMS was going to continue to drop. That's not what happened. Market stabilized in HIMS and just didn't go anywhere. So here is the chart of HIMS. So the RSI indicated on Friday that the price action was going to continue lower, but then price action dipped slightly and then rebounded, stayed neutral. If you switch over to the daily time frame on HIMS, my downside target was $47.18. It actually never got below the low of the day yesterday, and so the price action just continued a little bit higher. I still have this nice wedge pattern. So HIMS, I feel like, based on the fact that the price action continued higher, the RSI is staying pretty strong above the 50. If we can get a break above this downsloping trend line, we have $72.98 written all over it. And that's about a 32% move to the upside. So as of right now, still bullish on HIMS, and I expect a pretty decent move. Okay, so another stock I'm looking at is IREN. IREN is indicating that price action wants to go higher. Look at what happened. We had it opened up pretty substantially higher on the morning session. It was up like 14, 15%, and then did a decent drop, chopped sideways throughout the rest of the day. Price action continued sideways, as well as the RSI. It did make a break below the 30 on the RSI, but if you notice, the pivot low didn't get taken out, which indicates that price action is still, the bulls are still in charge. Brought the price action up, and then up and away it went. RSI then peaked above the 70, stayed really strong, and now pre-market, look at what's going on with IREN. It's trading up to $62.96, almost $63 a share. So for me, $65 is where I'm looking at. Now, normally I don't get into stocks that are basically piercing through upsloping trend lines. If you zoom out on the daily time frame, there's not a lot of resistance to go by. So it's already well above its opening price at $28. And so for me, the only real indicator I have would be a pierce of $65, because it's a whole round number of 65. Could go up to 70, but that for me would be the max upside for IREN. All right, so ACHR, I was mentioning the other day or yesterday that it had this really good resistance level at $12.54. Based on the RSI, it was indicating that price action was going to continue higher, and that's exactly what happened. ACHR headed up into $12.54. I want you guys to notice when this hit. So I'm going to go to the daily time frame here in a second, but to the penny at $12.54 at basically 9:50 in the morning. Here's the daily time frame on ACHR, $12.54. I was mentioning this is a wide range red bar candle. So this is the opening price of this red bar candle. The RSI was overextended, but when price action got back up into this level, we should get a rejection, and that's exactly what happened. Going back to the intraday time frame. And then I had mentioned, okay, so the next possible rejection level would be right here at $13. No, it was this red bar candle. I said I was going to get into this pretty heavily, but what happened on the daily time or the intraday time frame at $13.37, price action didn't get up in there until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So for me, 3 o'clock in the afternoon is way too late to enter a trade, especially a stock that's got huge momentum like this. This is on the back of possibly partnering with like Tesla and stuff like that. Plus, if you notice the RSI, this thing had stayed really strong throughout the rest of the day, or the whole day, the whole morning session. RSI stayed around the 70, never really dipped, never took out some low pivots. So for me, this was way too strong of a stock. You could have gotten about a 1% pullback. So anytime you enter these things, you can always enter a trade. And then as it's going down, put a stop loss at your break even. So if the stock wants to continue higher, it can do that and you lock yourself in. But that's what happened. ACHR headed a little bit lower. The RSI, look at that, only got down to the 50 and then continued higher and then got shot all the way up to $13.81. So had you stayed in this, you would have been 3% out of the money. Not significant, however, but for me, I wasn't going to hold this overnight, and so it was not a trade that I was willing to enter. And now it's trading at $13.20. So going back to the daily time frame, it's broken this down sloping trend line. Even though the RSI is above 70, I still think that it's got further upside to go. So for me, ACHR $16.55 is the upside move. What we're wanting to see is ACHR coming back down to $12.54, consolidating sideways, breaking back above this down sloping trend line, and then $16.55 would be my take profit. NPWR is playing out just as anticipated. I mentioned that this was a good break of this down sloping trend line, and I have this up sloping trend line right here is where my max upside target would be, at least for a swing trade. And so for now, NPWR is playing out. So $4 Pierce is where I'd likely exit this trade if I were in it. But ultimately, I love this trade setup. It is starting to get overextended on the daily time frame, and so I would look to take profits. Now, if it comes back into about $2.91, this could be a great buying opportunity. You have a ton of support in this area, so a retrace right back to this level would be where I would scoop this thing up. SNDK, I had mentioned yesterday as well that the price action on SNDK gave a topping tail the other day, negated that. We stopped out and then it put in a secondary topping tail. Price action was trading right here at a $13 or $134. And I said this would be a great opportunity to get in just in case it didn't get up to $140. So for me, $140 is where I would have entered this trade. However, I was looking at a day trade level, swing trade level. This is a great opportunity. A stop out is still at a close above $137.05 on a daily closing basis. Now, a downside target would be this upsloping trend line. So you could look for a pierce of $100 to take your profits if you're in this trade. Okay, so AMD is a high flyer today. So this is one of the stocks I was mentioning that has the potential to reverse. Look at what happened. Price action opened up at $226 and then faded all day. So it dropped over 10%. Now, if you notice how up on the back of the news AMD was, 10% move down, still kept AMD up over 25%. Although the RSI is indicating that now that all this buying euphoria is done, the price action should continue lower. And so this could signal a top in AMD. It hit the double top area. RSI is overextended on the daily time frame. And look at the intraday RSI. So RSI started high and then finally faded to the 30. What I liked about this was the price action not only dropped, the RSI continued lower as well, breaking some low pivots. Although it is up at $2 or $214 today, it still indicates, for me, at least based on the RSI, that we should have a further rollover in the markets of AMD. So I'm looking for a downside target on AMD, probably back to $176. This is a great technical level. This was a prior gap fill that I was looking at AMD filling. However, just because it skipped over that, when price action gets back into that level, again, it's no longer a gap fill. However, this is going to be pretty significant support. I would be looking to buy AMD at $176. So for me, that would play this like a topping tail, basically retrace at 50% mark at $216 or $217 area. That's where I would likely enter this as a short. Stop out would be any daily closing basis above this high with $226. but I would look for a downside target of $176. Okay, you guys, let's go ahead and go into the RSI trade of the day. Okay, so I have MU on the docket. Look at MU. It put in this beautiful topping tail. Beautiful. It got up to $200. So for me, my RSI trade of the day is a pierce of $200. The RSI is indicating that this is overbought. Look at the negative RSI divergence. So what I'm looking at for RSI divergence is price action to head higher, but the RSI heading lower. And that's what's going on with MU. Not only that, but you had this pierce of this upswing trend line. Let me go ahead and zoom out for you guys. So this takes this pivot top from the highs of March 2021, highs of June 2024, and then it pierced this level back in October of 2025. So as soon as price action gets above a level when the RSI is extended, creating negative RSI divergence, for me, this signals that a top is likely to be put in. And so I'm going to play this topping tail just like any other topping tail. I'm going to play this at any close above the high end of the wick at 201 on a daily closing basis. That's where I would stop out of this. Now, if we can get back below this upswing trend line, a minimum price of is $181.28, but I'm looking at MU coming back into $157. So although this is the RSI trade of the day, I'm looking at this as a more of a swing trade as well. So again, my entry price is going to be a pierce of $200, looking for a downside target of $181 for more of a shorter term swing trade. But ultimately, I think it's going down to $157 if we can get a continuation sell in the markets based on the RSI. So a pierce of $200 and a 201 is going to be my stop out level on a 15-minute closing basis, and then I'd exit that trade on MU. But these are a couple high flyers that are showing signs of possible reversals, possible pullbacks. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys got some information out of this, and let's see these trades play out. And Gareth Soloway is going to be trading or going live on my trading game plan at 9 o'clock, so you guys don't want to miss that. And we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great rest of your day and take care.